Welcome back to Voice Global. I'm your host, Pete Erickson, and we've been talking to so many leaders from across the industry and around the world. I'm really excited for our next guest because he is at the forefront of enterprise AI when it comes to conversational interfaces. And, there is one thing that we hope, really comes out in Voice Global is that there is so much going on in this space, and we talk a lot about conversational design and intents and interfaces. And I think a conversation that we want to be having more of is really about the enterprise and about how much is just happening with regards to voice and conversational interfaces across industries. We're going to get into that here. I welcome to the stage my next guest, CEO and founder of Openstream, Raj Tumuluri. Raj, how are you doing?
Good. Thank you so much, Pete, for the nice introduction.
Well, thanks for joining us. And in our lead up calls to this, we definitely prep with guests, and I think I was so impressed just with the depth of your knowledge in the space, and with some of the work that you're doing that we're going to be able to actually talk a little bit about today. But I think that, for our audience, can you tell us a little bit about, what led you to founding Openstream, and, what happened in the lead up to the company, coming into existence? Give us the backstory.
Well, we started off with mobility because we thought like people would need some kind of companion to get the information that they need while on the move. So when we started doing that, the initial thought was that people were doing a lot of text messaging back and forth, and that was the only channel that was available to them. And the bandwidth was not adequate to do any richer communication. As a consequence, we started building, what we thought would be the future, called multimodal technology. And we joined the World Wide Web Consortium in 2002. In a group called Multimodal Interaction Group, Working Group. And then since then, I co-authored the standard for W3C multimodal architecture, which was ratified in 2012. So that was the basis on which we started building this technology. And conversation happens to be, involving both the speech, that is voice acts, as well as gestures and many other things. So while some of the, probably other companies are focusing on either the chat or the voice only, so we focus on chat, voice, and multimodal, multi-sensor input and output.
Well, I tell you what, the backstory is really amazing. You really talk about 20 years ago, you started this initiative called Multimodal, and I would say visionary is a word I would use, just because a Siri didn't come out until 2011, and I had a front row seat on that, being the community leader at Modev with the mobile developer crowd. And one thing I remember from that time is that they were incredulous that they couldn't get access to the APIs for Siri to actually improve their mobile applications. But you had started 10 years prior, really seeing this as the next opportunity, and here we are 20 years later. You lead Openstream, and Gartner recently recognized Openstream as one of the top 10 enterprise AI companies in the world. Let's talk a little bit about enterprise AI and kind of the definition of what that space is. If you could help our viewers understand, when we say enterprise AI, what does it mean to you?
Oh, well, there are a lot of processes that could be automated within the enterprise using AI technologies, and robotic process automation and other things have transformed to become intelligent process automation. Those are some of the things that some of the enterprises are doing. But more importantly, how do we provide for business users, whether they are customers or employees, information on demand without having to click too many checkboxes or drop down menus and other things, using a flat user interface like conversational AI. So they could just simply ask whatever they want, and then we provide the information, much like what Google did to the data that is presented on the web. Initially, we used to have, for example, company pages and other things during the Alta Vista and the Yahoo times. And Google came and simplified the whole thing with just a text area that is presented where you could type anything, and then it will try and get you the information. So much like the same thing, we don't want people to learn how your data is structured at the back end. So they don't have to form structured queries to retrieve information, but they should be able to simply ask, speak to something just like you and I do in real life, and then get the information that they want. I mean, that's really what we mean is as a really full manifestation of enterprise AI. So whether you're an enterprise CEO that's trying to find some quarterly results, and or the CIO that's trying to find out how their network is doing, what the network threats are, or an enterprise customer that's trying to find out about a product or a claim. So that's really what how the enterprise AI manifests itself in terms of benefits for the three classes of users.
Well, I think that that is, I mean, we've all been caught in a call tree where we're talking to an automated attendant, and we're trying to get somewhere, and it can be really, really frustrating. And I think that that's something that everybody's experienced and understands. Wouldn't it be nice just to say, "Hey, I need this," and and get that on demand. Also, just as somebody who runs a fairly large CRM, and I'm always interested in data. Data like runs our business, and I love to access. How many people have visited our website today? Things like that. All that information. So cool. Well, let's get into a little bit of like actual real life implementations. We talked a little bit about a major insurance carrier, and I think this is a great opportunity. Or if we just take insurance industry, everybody understands has auto policies, home policies, or business policies out there. Let's talk a little about how this then applies in the real world and some of the implementations that you're leading out there. We may stay away from brand names, but just know these are very, very, very large global companies.
Absolutely.
So let's get into it a little bit. Let's talk. I don't know where you want to start, but maybe give us a use case that's actually being implemented today.
Yeah, you make a very good point, because we have all been caught in decision trees and scripts for the IVRs, and most of the early versions of the bots are nothing but glorified if then else type of coding that they used to do. So now, because when we start migrating from there to the advanced features of conversational AI, the users are free to ask any question that they want. That's really the key, right? So, but then the problem with some of the voice assistants that are consumer facing, which are good for weather reports and other things, they will work well because the state of the art itself is not there yet in terms of really comprehending what the user is trying to do. So, which is what we are attempting. We are trying to see how we can understand what the user's true intent or goal is, as opposed to just literally following what the user is asking. The case in point, let's take the case of a health insurance company offering this this kind of an virtual assistant to their members. So the member could be interested in knowing whether are there any COVID test centers nearby. So the literal answer for that would be yes, there are, or no, there aren't. That right. Should really satisfy the constraint. And maybe a slightly better, virtual assistant would say there are three COVID test centers nearby, and show them probably on the map. Right. But nothing beyond that. But if you go beyond that, understand the true goal of the end user as to why they ask this question, what we call right. as goal-based dialogue model. So our chief scientist is actually Dr. Phil Cohen. Since you mentioned Siri, he was the original one that helped write the Siri from with Adam Shire at Stanford SRI. And our background and foundations are strong in that space. So we are on to the next level, which is a goal-based dialogue engine. So when you ask this question, so we kind of understand the plan of the user. The plan of the user is not to merely know whether there are any COVID test centers nearby, but would rather like to probably go there and get tested. So when that is the case, you have to, a good virtual assistant should basically understand, okay, try to find out, which ones are closest, and then try to find out more information about them, whether there are any obstacles in executing the plan of the end user. For example, if it could simply say that there are 3 close by, the nearest one is 1 mile away, but that doesn't have any appointments, but the next one is 20 minutes away. and that can take walk-ins. Shall I get you directions for that? And that would be a really powerful thing. And this you should be able to do in a scriptless fashion. We are not trying to code as an if-then-else thing like most of the people do, or just follows the decision trees or prompts.
Sure.
So with this as an approach, and then when you apply that to, since you touched upon the insurance domain, the policy documents and other things tend to be very complex, and they're kind of, oftentimes they are legally binding. So the lot of language, therefore, is not something that is easy for a common man to understand. While a lot of information could be present in those documents, you really still have to call, whether you're calling a healthcare payer to get an approval for the next procedure or the next drug that you're trying to take, or want to find out why your claim is declined, or you're in an auto claim or property claim and trying to find out what your limits are, whether you have got your claim processed. So all these things require knowledge and relationships among various entities present in these documents. So one should be able to glean from that the information and kind of provide the answers to the end users without requiring an large IT staff to sit there and write a lot of coding to extract these documents. So we try to automate that process. So we have helped some of the largest insurance companies in terms of ingesting the kind of documents that they have, whether it is policy documents or database information schemas and then anything else, or even for that matter, contact center logs or customer support logs. So from that, we know what kind of questions people will ask, and then we do the domain ontology mapping to basically that means that there are pre-built ontologies that we provide for different domains that we work in. So because 80% accuracy is not good enough in the space,
right?
You need to do better than that. As you know, the speech industry, having been a veteran in the speech industry, you know this very well, because the speech is something that unless you are 90 and above, you are not even there with end users, because a lot of people, it leads to a lot of cognitive dissonance, and then they'll stop using this interface altogether. So we kind of So go on.
No, you bring up a great point on user experience. There was a stat that stuck out. Another interview we had for Voice Global from Janine Heck, who's the vice president of AI product at Comcast, and she said there are 24,000 different ways that people ask to change the channel.
Yeah.
So if you're hitting 80% accuracy, well, you're leaving out thousands of customers that are not going to be successful.
Yeah.
And that's just so the challenges are super complex, but you have to get there. You've got to get to the nines.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's where, again, it will be role-based, right? So why in this case, what we have done with some of the insurance companies is there are different use cases that are implemented. For example, end user can find out with their claim status and what happened with the claim and things like that. But those are probably pretty common because they're mostly customer support and contact center type queries. But they're also enterprise-wide things which their underwriters and agents want to know about a particular property before writing a policy, or they want to know what coverages are available and which of the customers have taken those coverages, and whether there are any cross-sell opportunities for them. I mean, these are pretty complex, and there are lots of business rules that enterprise would have. And then understanding these complex queries, probably a common man wouldn't ask these questions, but these people are advanced. So hence, we call this actually as Gartner. In fact, since you mentioned that report, Gartner also talks about advanced virtual assistants, and this is one of them. So you could potentially ask questions on, which of these properties have, these coverages but not the other coverages, or what are the exclusions applied for this. So this kind of handling the negations and superlatives and other things is the next level of NLU, as you know, because most of the logistic regression models that are available through the cloud AI solutions don't often handle the negations and other things, because they treat every utterance as bag of words. So that's the fundamental difference in our case. But without getting too technical, again, so the use case that would be probably of interest, where it's like very powerful, and it has proved to be worthy of the effort that has gone into it from an enterprise perspective, is for, like, let's say there are catastrophic events, because insurance industry completely thrives on, the lack of, or basically the occurrence of catastrophic events can kind of impact them so much. So they always are interested in knowing what kind of cat events happen. And this could be anybody. This could be the enterprise CEO, this could be an underwriter, or this could be end consumer. So when they ask the questions, are there any catastrophic events happening that can potentially affect my properties? So this requires knowledge of many things, the AI to the next level. So you have to know where your property locations are, and then look at what kind of cat events happening there, and what is the path or trajectory that they would take. For example, if it is a hurricane, then you follow the track line and the cone, and then see if there are any properties within that vicinity that can potentially be affected by this. So you can give the exposure and other details to the CEOs and the executive team, and then you can also give the cross-sell opportunities for the agents and others who could then sell the type of coverage that can be sold to the end customers. As coming from the East Coast of United States, we all remember the Hurricane Sandy, when there was a battle between insurance companies and the consumers, whether the water damage is considered a storm damage or
I remember it well.
Flood. Right. So those are the things that they need to know. So we were able to help them with this kind of information. And showing the exposure and based on the map, and then so that they could focus on, an end user can then ask follow-on questions like, how can I protect myself, and to mitigate that risk. And then agent could cross-sell, and the enterprise can look at what kind of exposure am I going to get into because of this event. So, and that is not just for the current events only, that can also be for past events. Again, talk about retrieval of information. You could simply ask a question: how much did we lose on Hurricane Irene or Hurricane Sandy? Compare that. So those are things that are not possible with the standard chatbot type approaches. So this is where the enterprise AI has manifested itself fully.
Well, it's certainly. I mean, the power is there, and I think the ROI. I think that's what's so important is that you are reducing time and friction, and gaining back valuable time, not only among the agents that are out there selling policies, but everybody in the entire kind of chain of organization in the insurance business. Really interesting. I would imagine that there are, company leaders now asking about, what are my options for ransomware coverage? And we have been talking about that around here lately.
Yeah, you're absolutely right on that. And unfortunately, for confidentiality reasons, I cannot talk about some of the new products that they're working on for terrorism coverage, which is one of them is this one. Hacking is a major concern for cybersecurity. Basically, what kind of exposure that they're going to have as a consequence of that, and what products can we sell to the customers. And that's something that, even that's another level of AI as to, what is the viability of a product. And those are things also that you can make it conversation enabled, if there is a word like that, where you could just simply ask, how do you think this product will do? And you can do a lot of predictive analytics based on past performance of the cyber crime things based, by products that were sold by others, right? There's a lot of data that is gathered in the process. You touch upon the very hot and happening topic right now. Yes, absolutely.
Well, I'll tell you what, I mean, we all interface with insurance. It's very complex. Health insurance is super complex to navigate as a customer. I had a visit with a hospital last year, and I ended up, I think, with 12 different bills. So it can be daunting, and it's nice to hear that you're helping to overcome a lot of these challenges and make it easier. Are there other industries where Openstream is looking to take that level of automation and reduction of friction too?
Absolutely. Financial services is our mainstay, if you will. Financial services, like, when you're offering wealth management solutions, you have the financial advisor always wants to find, when they're based on their travel plans, who are the high net worth customers that they need to meet and what state they are, or state as in, are they happy with the things, or they're in the process of renewing the contracts, or whatever else that they are doing, right? So that is an information that they want to have on fingertips. And this is not based on a predetermined menus and checkboxes. This is based on their travel plans. So this kind of surfaces the information based on their travel plan, who are the customers and what their, basically you get a dashboard, customer 360 view of those customers that you would be visiting. And then all the hot issues and everything else are automatically surfaced based on either by you asking, but that is as in pulling on demand, or by pushing based on your calendar schedule. So that is like, and also, I talked about multimodal at the very beginning. So you could actually draw on a map and then ask a question, show me the customers that are not happy in this region,
Right.
And what are the top 5 issues faced by my customers in this region that I need to address? And things like that, where you are combining a drawing on the map with a query that is given by voice, and then to filter out the information that you want, and you can follow on from that. And doing that and typing that kind of thing on a chatbot is very complex. That's where you really see as you said it right, the frictionless interaction that kind of helps them retrieve the information fast and without any inconvenience.
As you can hear, my dog Maisie is greeting some delivery person at my front door right now. So we'll have to just let that one slide. She does like to make herself part of the conversation.
Absolutely. Here. And she's echoing the sentiment, I guess.
Yes. She's one of those unhappy customers right now.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what, this is it's an eye-opening discussion, really talking about this. Where do you see industries going? And are there particular industries where you feel like, we mentioned InsurTech and financial services, but are there, where is the next low-hanging fruit that you see in the market?
Obviously, the contact centers is something that everybody is off to. But right. When you look at the way they are doing currently, the deflection, it's based on script. So you need to get scriptless, and you need to really leverage the body of knowledge that is available at the enterprise in resolving things. For example, like you said, there are 24,000 ways so somebody can change the channel, right? So similarly, there are multiple ways that they can ask the question. So the biggest challenge that you find in support is that how do you recognize that the problem identified by somebody is the same as articulated by another one? So because the articulation is different, so they are all categorized, whether you are using ServiceNow or whichever else that you are using as a backend for maintaining your tickets and information, the cases are all logged under different headings. So the biggest challenge is finding the similarity among those things and surfacing that information. And nobody is really focused on that as on date. They're all trying to solve based on what the customer has asked, and then trying to escalate to the human user. But that's probably going to be more. You will see more and more of virtual assistants answering those questions and trying to find from the body of knowledge that is available from within the enterprise, and dynamically retrieve that information and find out the kind of semantic similarity or equivalence among the various cases. Like, the customer is after all asking about changing the channel, and it's not a new case that he's not, he's logging at this moment. Right. So that's where I think you would see the most progress happen. But of course, there are other industries that we are focused on, which is manufacturing automation, obviously, and also Department of Defense. There are a lot of defense applications that we work on, where drawing on the maps and asking questions is extremely important. And then so the multimodal aspects of it, whether simultaneous translations and many other things like multi-language detection, when conference logging, and basically translating, identifying call to action. There are many such things that are there in our product portfolio right now, and I think that's probably the next frontier for everyone to get to.
I don't, to kind of summarize that, there is no lack of opportunity in this space. I think that's
absolutely
that's one of the keys here, and Gartner is recognizing this as a key market. And Raj, it's been so nice to have you here and chat with us at Voice Global about all that you're doing at Openstream, and congratulations on your success. Thanks for joining us, and I hope you'll join us this fall when we get together for Voice Summit. Now, I'll give you a tidbit of information. I've been sharing this today, but we will be going live with a live event, and I think that's changed since last time we chatted, and we're really excited about it, and look forward to seeing you there.
Well, thank you so much for making me part of the Voice Global, and I look forward to the next conference in person.
Yes.
And I miss that too. We all want to get back to normal. Thank you so much.
It's certainly time. Thanks for joining us, Raj. I'm Pete Erickson. My guest has been Raj Tumuluri, who is the CEO and founder of Openstream.ai. Thank you, Raj.
Thank you.